Hello, my name is Kaela Jones. I work here at All Things Wild Rehabilitation Center in Georgetown. And this is Miss Penelope. We've got Stevie behind me on the right here. I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit today about what it is like to rehab these opossums and get them up on their feet and all the good things they do for our environment. This is our Miss Penelope. She was born with a lame front leg here, so she can't grasp, she can't climb, she's got a hard time moving around. So we keep these two with us to help us teach about all the good things that they do. We got them about the same time, they're both about 8 months old, and we've been rehabbing them up because they can't be released to a point that they would survive happily and capably. Opossums are very, very neat creatures to have around. Against a lot of belief, they're actually really, really good for the environment, good to have around your house. They're great pest control, actually. They basically scoop up and accumulate all of these ticks, and about 90% of these ticks that they accumulate, they will pick off with their little opposable hands, and they'll eat them and they'll kill them. They'll basically eradicate a large portion of the tick population, which is really, really great. That helps control with things like Lyme disease, which is, awful. So they help us out with things like that. And of course, aesthetically, even though they're not the prettiest things, they help us keep our land and our areas clean. Fun facts about them, of course, they do have their really neat prehensile tails. They use those to help climb. They can hold their full body weight on it as well. It's a very, very strong muscle. It's very neat. With a lot of scavenging, they do partake in much of the carry-on cleanup, but they are actually great hunters as well. They control a lot of different pests. They just so happen to have an incredibly high immune system. They also have a little bit of a safeguard, immunity to most snake venoms. So they also help keep things like snakes, rattlesnakes, copperheads. They can deal with them pretty easy, and they quite like the taste of snake as well. So they take care of those. They'll even hunt down the rats and mice in your homes. They'll go for cockroaches as well. So they're actually a really, really good pest deterrent for lots of reasons. Opossums have very, very loosely set eyes in their sockets and in the skulls, and sometimes when they have something traumatic enough, Stevie here was hit by a car when he was very, very young. We got him last spring. He's about 8 months, but literally the eyeballs will more or less fall out as because they're so loosely set in there. So an opossum, typically, this is why Miss Penelope likes this little bushed area so much. They love wooded areas. Wooded, low, brushy areas are their ideal setting. Of course, they'll find somewhere close to water if they can. They get a pretty good diet here. They get lots of meat. They need calcium, is very important for them. That's why it's so good that they do have carry-on and that they can eat things like that, because the bone intake is so important for their structure and their well-being that, they'll get eggshells and yogurt and all the goods here. These guys at the center, typically a lot of what we're spending the money on, we have to get chicken parts for them. We have to have chicken hearts, chicken necks. The protein is incredibly important for the correct growth. Part of why Penelope was probably born with a defect leg was she wasn't getting the nutrients that she needed when she was very young. But they are opportunistic omnivores, so they'll eat decaying plant matter, they'll eat decaying animal matter. They love fruit. They can't get their hands on fruit very often, but when they can, that's definitely their favorite thing. But they will handle all of the carry-on cleanup, and of course, they actually will do hunting for themselves as well if necessary. They will hunt mice and rats down if they're in an area that's available. They love field mice. They'll hunt down snakes as well, and they'll even munch on cockroaches and keep those out of the way for you. Now, not counting these two that stick around, just this season we have rehabilitated over 222 opossums. That means they've gone all the way through the process, through our buildings. We brought them outside and did pre-release, and then thereafter went and released them. Rehabbing an opossum typically takes about 6 months. That is basically, they'll be weaned at about 3 months from their mother. At about 6 months is when we'll put them outside for at least a month before we release them, so that they have a pre-release, something like this that looks like what it would be like for them to be out in the wild and released. But typically, we will take them in at a very young age, even weeks. We've had little pink baby possums come in, and we've raised them up from there. And depending on the age, they also need formula. They have a very, very specific formula that they get with a protein to fat ratio that's very important. So even having things like that, we have to produce or provide that for them in the young ages. And then we have to gradually move up to solid foods. Now, we still have babies here. There's still more rolling through, so it's not over. The season is never over. Any mammal this size, typically the average rehab price is somewhere between $35 to $50. It just depends on each distinct situation, though. If somebody needs an x-ray or if somebody needs surgery, if there's something that we can do to help the animals and make them releasable, of course we're going to do that.